All right. Looks like I should be live. I'm a couple minutes early, so I will go ahead and wait for people to join. But I'm back in the saddle. And I'll keep an eye here for a minute. Won't start until we hit 11, which is in a couple minutes. Oh, I gotta just put these guys back in. So, alrighty. Just give people a minute or two to join. Get 11 o'clock time. One thing I gotta do is be careful of my power supply because the... Actually, I wonder if I can plug this in somewhere else so it's not right in the way. Let's try and bring this guy. Let's see, where can I plug it in? I got too many plugs. Too many plugs. Too many plugs. See if I can figure if I can unplug something over here. I know one of these is my lamp. Oh, actually, I plugged in this guy somewhere, haven't I? Still? Yeah, so let's unplug that. I don't need that anymore. If anybody's joined, welcome, welcome. I'm just kind of rearranging the desk a little, getting rid of the clutter a little bit, and giving myself a free plug for my power supply. All right. And we've hit the time, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the live stream starting shortly. All right. Well, I don't have anybody yet, but I will quickly go over what has happened, where we're at, and what I'm going to try and do today. So first off, I found yesterday a couple little things that had been wrong. The first thing was that I had miswired my output jacks, and they were wired to be grounded, so there was no output coming out. The second thing we found after I fixed that was that I was missing a ground over here of one of these, so that probably didn't impact the overall output. I think I found the ground first. Oh, no, sorry, we'll take a step back even further. The very first thing I found was that it accidentally grounded my power coming into this power rail. So this was smoking. I quickly shut it off before it got bad. Found where the ground was, fixed it. I'd accidentally, in the layout, you have to jumper power into one side of it, into a resistor, and then it jumps over to this other side. But the problem is I'd used the center lug of the 5-pin, or the 5-point exploding palm taking. No, I'm just kidding. So this is a different kind of 5.1 here. But it's basically this tab here is your ground. Will always be grounded because it's connected to chassis unless you use an isolation of some kind. But it's in the middle one in this case. I guess this is a 6 one instead of 5. But the one that I did, I actually connected it, the center, or that point to here, so it was going straight to ground. So we fixed that. Then we fixed the speaker jacks. Then we fixed the ground over here, and we output. But then our 12 volts were messed up. We weren't getting 12 volts here. With some work with some of the people on the channel, which was great, we found that I had diodes in backwards for it to send voltage correctly, so they were just dumping all it straight to ground. But then so I swapped the diodes around and realized, but I actually had the relays powered reversed. I had positive and negative mixed up. So that meant the diodes were correct. We had removed them temporarily. I took some time offline and put the diodes back in the right way. I have the relays in the right way. And when I power on, I could see the lights switching, but there was another thing that had been pointed out to me by Mark Spruill yesterday. And he's mentioned it several times, but somehow with everything else going on, I missed this. And I did mention to him later I got it, but I didn't get what the exact problem was. I understood what he was saying, but I didn't know why it was a problem. Well, come to find out, that was because the PAB switch, preamp boost switch, was set to not be grounded correctly at all. If you look on the layout, it even says NC, not connected, but it needed to have a ground for the relays to work correctly. So while we were offline, I did two things. I kind of restored these guys back to the way they were, and then I put the diodes back in the right way, the way they were originally. Then I quickly got a grounding connection on this other switch that didn't have one, and I've connected it as well. So in theory, that means we should now hopefully have everything wired up correctly. We won't know until we do a little bit more troubleshooting. We're going to figure that part out. So another thing I will mention is that afterwards I was playing with it a little bit, just to play the guitar through the clean channel because I knew that worked. I started having a little crackly noise, and then it kind of has gotten really quiet output all of a sudden. So we may have to troubleshoot some more on that as well. But I was also playing with the switches, and it may be that the foot switching is actually kind of working, and the noise was sending me through OD, but the OD channel is kind of a bit, not working great either. So today, the idea is hopefully we may have fixed all the relay power, but we'll see. I'm going to try and see if I can get those switching now that I've actually given a ground reference to this one, and we'll kind of go from there. So still don't see anybody has joined yet, but I will just go ahead and get into this a little bit, and people can hopefully come along here for the ride shortly. Although before I power up, I keep noticing this little bit right here on the bias that drives me nuts. I've got a teeny bit of a lead that I folded back like you should, but I never snipped off the excess. Alright, there we go. Alright, oh. So, without further ado, we will go ahead and power on. Actually, I'm only 4 minutes after. I don't have anybody joined. I know there was a lot of people that wanted to join, so we're going to give it just another minute or two and see if we get anybody to join. So, in the timing of that, I will discuss generally, for people that might be watching this after the fact, one of the things that effectively was explained is that the preamp boost one in this layout is not connected to ground here. And if you look at the schematic, it isn't either, but that's because the schematic and layout were connected to one that apparently had connected something in this rock jazz. He had a middle off switch that was neither rock nor jazz, but there was a preamp boost anyway, and that so it would be like a 4-pole 3-throw, so that in the middle you could actually use it correctly. But I don't have that type of a switch, so mine won't stop in the middle. Mine's a dual pole. That would be a triple pole throw, so you kind of would, instead of having up and down, there's also a middle position that mine doesn't have. So they basically, he explained to me that it needs ground reference. So that would come back in here, and basically just like this guy has a ground reference coming from here off, you can see ground 5. Then I've jumpered a connection between that and to this side right here so that we have a ground on the PAB switch. So we're also going to look at the schematic quickly and look at that same thing. See how this is not connected? I need to have that connected to ground just like the other side is. If you look over here, if the OD switch is on, like this PAB switch is on, that works in theory. But not having that ground reference across when you've switched them the different ways is causing, I think it's causing a kind of imbalance in the circuit, but I'm not sure. So according to what I think I understood from Mark, that's what I did. So hopefully we'll give this a try and we'll see if it works. But just trying to think if I should wait any longer for more people to join or anybody to join. But so far I've got nobody yet. So I will, all right, I'm going to make sure my multimeter's set up in voltage mode. I also want to check one of the other things we haven't had a chance to do, and I will look at as well once we is the FET. The FET input I will have to make sure is configured correctly, that I'm getting voltages the way it looks like it should be, etc. And we're going to go from there. But all right, let's see. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and go for it. We're at 6 after, so all right. So I'm going to go ahead and power back on. Oh, I'm not plugged into the wall. I'm going to turn it off first, plug it back into the wall, and then power on. All right, power. And what I want to check really here is I've got 18 volts coming in, 11.89 going out. I've got 11.89 on that side like I should, 11.89 on that side like I should, but on theory, the other side, oh, it does have 11.89. Doesn't make sense to me still. Well, they both do, but they're not engaged. So, for some reason, that's dumping all output on the preamp boosted. So the amp is working again today. But can you hear the kind of distorted sound? It's a little buzzy. I don't know what might be going on with that. So at any rate, let's turn that down fairly low. So at this point, oddly enough, in my idea, I thought you shouldn't have 12 volts on either side of this rail. I've got 12 volts here, and I've got 12 volts here. But I thought, in theory, if this is wired correctly, you shouldn't have 12 volts across that side. Because that's the output side. Oh, okay, so if the switch is off over here, that seems to do it. But that switch also seems to shunt everything to ground. Just got very kind of crummy level output. So what I'm gonna do right now, since like I said, things seem kind of weird, I'm gonna get my probe here, my oscilloscope probe, and I'm gonna look around and see if I can figure out where my signal's fading. We should see input of the top side. I'm not gonna plug in the thing, I'll just kind of strum a string like that to give me some level of signal. We'll see at the input, which is what's plugged into this first lead. In fact, I got a lot of glare, guys. Let's see if I can adjust that so the glare's not so bad. All right, there you go. So, actually, look at that. That is a good sign I'm not getting good signal from the input, because right at the input grid, I'm getting really weak signal. So I might have not done a great job getting that resoldered for all my reconnecting. That's why my input is actually not coming in good. So I just accidentally, remember I had to pull that out to get power back in. It looks like I've got dry soldered connections. We're going to drain the power out really quickly. And then once we do so, we will look at what that's got going on. Hey, hello, hello. It looks like so far, Matt, you're the only person in here. But hopefully more people will be joining. I'll review now that you're here. What I did was I had Mark Spruill yesterday telling me that this PAB switch needs to actual reference to ground or it won't work. So I have grounded that while we were offline. And then I've also gone in and I've restored all the relays to the way they should be and given myself I've also connected the, I'm drawing a blank now, why am I drawing a blank? Connected the diodes back in, but everything seems to be working correctly in that area to some extent. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. So I'm just trying to get that sorted out. So hopefully more people. Oh, look, we've got 2 people here now. Cool. So I'm going to put my meter on continuity mode for a second because I want to test that I'm not getting continuity. That looks right. That looks right, but I shouldn't have it over here, and I don't. So what seems to be happening though is that we may be feeding. We're supposed to have 12 volts that come right here to each side when I power it on. And I'm not seeing that for some reason. I've got blue here, I think. I do, and I've got purple down here. So those should be feeding it into here. And then, but that means for some reason, it almost seems like I'm bleeding the 12 volts back because when I have it on, I have 12 volts on both sides of the relay, even though it's not triggered. But, so something almost seems still wonky with the way the relays are being wired or triggered. So I got to try and sort it out. But I do need to reflow the solder. I can hear it already. That's why I shut down. I need to try and fix this connection because I've got a mediocre connection on the input. I don't know how that's happened, but it has. So, well, and I suspect it's because I got like a dry soldered connection here after I was monkeying with it the other day. So. I'm just going to put some more solder into that joint. Make sure we get good fluid connection. Ooh, I just had a big dollop drop off too, but let's hope that has reflowed and I can let it cool now. And that'll make that connection better. So we're going to go ahead and turn back on and see if that helps. Because I was getting really weak signal. Oh yeah. So now, instead of it barely marking up here at the lowest possible settle, it's going much higher. So I'm definitely getting clean signal now. Well, no, that sounds a bit distorted. Alright, so we're getting a kind of a buzzy sound right now still. Where if that's engaged, maybe that's the OD channel. Does that sound like that's changing totally? You know what I'm wondering? Which type of solder? I use Kester, mostly. I've gotten, let's see, I'm almost out of this spool right here. It probably says it on it, though, what I have. It is, I've got it on like a Heiko little soldering thing. This is definitely Kester as well. I've actually got it listed in the footer here of, I believe, if you wanted to buy some off of Amazon, that's the same type I have. And I've used two different kinds. This is the other one, which is Kester, but it's a thicker gauge, it's 0.05. And this is some big, fat, meaty stuff. When you're doing tube stuff, this stuff actually kind of helps, especially when you're soldering some very large joints, and I'm going to be switching to that soon because this one's almost empty. This one is fairly thin, and sometimes I have to really feed like crazy because it's so thin. So I'm hoping that will help a little bit. But and then my first solder I bought was this kind, and it's Loctite, and it worked great, but it was super thin, and I would be feeding for days. So this is good for when you're dealing with really, really fine, small stuff. But all right, so what I kind of want to think, I'm wondering if this is actually the preamp boost and it's working correctly, the red one. I just have them backwards somehow. But my theory behind that is that if I connect my voltage testing here and I touch it here, this is the relay that should be working for the drive. That's resistance. I am at 11.8 volts on this side and 11.8 volts on that side. So, yes. So, this switch is impacting the drive. So it's almost like I have these wired in reverse, and I might have to look into that, but it's not the end of the world. But basically, I think the preamp boost is what's working. So if we take my guitar and we put that in, I think my relays might actually be working now because I'm hearing a different tone. We're getting a lot of distortion. Engage this one, it dies. So I first want to find the source of my bad noise. Then second, I will try and figure out I think the foot switch is just reversed. So I think my stuff is now working. Hey, yeah, they're actually dumb. I actually wired them quite different. Mark, thanks for coming back. I just talked a minute ago that I did fix the one thing you mentioned. I have connected the ground on the preamp boost line over to the other side, and actually, I think the foot switch is reversed. But if we look, can you guys see the foot switch? You can. So if I engage that red light now, so for one thing, for some reason I'm getting ear noise. I used to have really clean noise, and I didn't have it dirty, but now it's dirty. So, but if you listen, so that's the preamp boost. I've got it backwards, and it's working. But hear all that noise, and when I switch to the overdrive, I get nothing. But you were on point there. I have a special kind that is reversed. In fact, let's pull this up and look at I think it's here. Basically, mine, if you look at, Dumble's, he had this all on one row here. Mine are split, there's 4 on each side, but I did take that into account. But it looks like I think my preamp boost is the one that's working and my overdrive isn't. So I first want to, maybe I need to go back to taking out and putting sorry, I'm trying to hiccup. I guess I could still do the guitar thing, right? So that's just at the input, and it's only, like maybe 50 millivolts signal, but hit the bass notes, it gets me a lot more. But if I go to the second point here with my probe, and I check, for example, at the phase inverter outputs, we're getting very good signal. Very strong there, very healthy. Same there, very healthy. So, but what I'm wondering about here is I don't see any signal probably coming in here. Oh, I do. That's going into the drive channels. I actually have signal going through the drive. I still have signal going into the drive. Interesting. Oh, I'm looking at the yellow. I need to be looking at blue. No, I'm not getting any signal there at all. So yellow is still coming, obviously, because that's the input, but I'm not getting anything to that. So, So, but yes, Mark, we could. I could try and see if I can explain it to you. But the relays are 4 and 4, like stacked on top of each other like this. Each half of that switch is on one side of it for me. So what I had to effectively do was look at things like this. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more, and then. So basically, these two come to here and come to here. Whatever I was connecting here, I just had to connect on the opposite side up here. And whatever I was connecting here, I had to connect the opposite side up here. And this switch has nothing connected on this side because those are not connected to anything. Similarly on this guy, I can see both of those two. This is the preamp boost one right here. It has nothing. They're wide open. I could possibly, let's just try and take the camera. This will be a little fiddly, but I'll take the camera off the tripod for a second and try and zoom in there and show you what I mean. Give me just a second. Alright, sorry if this will make you seasick. We are going to come over from the top view, and I'll try and hand hold this and focus it. But if you look, you can see I've got a powered on amp, so I'm not going to stick my fingers in, but you can see that one is open, as is that one on the other side, if you can see it. It's not got anything soldered into it. So that one does seem to be working. But for the drive channel, I've got one of these here, and the one over here. So one's like the input, which is kind of this bottom one, and the other one is the output, which comes over to this side. This is out of focus. Sorry, let me try and refocus. Let me get in close and focus. So you can see right there that had nothing connected into that hole. And then over on this side, I've got stuff on the one side there, and then stuff on the side to connect that in. So let me go ahead and put this back up now. Yes, they're Hoffman's relay boards, exactly, Matt. So let me just slide my camera back in and get us readjusted. I know you're going to be out of focus for a second, but I will fix that as soon as I can get back into place here. Just give me a second. We'll zoom back out and readjust our focus down there. You don't need to see my mug. You need to see down there. All right, does that look pretty much in focus now, you guys? Is that pretty good? So what seems to be happening, let me try. What I might do, actually, let me shut down. I'm going to switch to a dummy load because I don't like hearing sine wave input because it's obnoxious. Because we're going to try and trace signal again because I think my switches are now wired correctly and working, but I may have them but I may have, or sorry, the relays themselves are wired correctly, but I don't know for sure that I have the actual other part, the routing, if you will, correct. So, and one of the things I didn't do yesterday, I will double check today. It's always wise to double check. I am pretty sure that I had a good 8 ohms, but we're going to, or, you know, it's or 4 ohms is what I'm going for. It's kind of bouncing all over. What in the world? Yeah, 4 ohms. Okay, so unplug this guy, plug this guy in, and we're going to swap inputs into my oscilloscope instead. Or I mean my signal generator instead. So we'll unplug this for a minute. We're going to try and trace that through. One of the things I need to troubleshoot after I get the overdrive working is I need to figure out how the FET board's working. I don't think it is because I plugged into it yesterday after the meeting, after our last thing, and it wasn't working. So, but we'll try that again in a second. Did you not have to install a second? I do actually. If you look on the layout, it's up here. So one of them connects right here from this pot, which is the treble pot, the output of the treble pot, down to the center of this rock jazz switch. But that same lead also comes over and connects into the PAB switching thing. And this other 22 meg is here. So both of the 22 megs are there. I don't know for sure if it's necessary either, but it seems to me like I think that's the one that's working. I just think I have my relays switched backwards on accident. It's not the end of the world. I can probably just go in and inside of the box here and just grab those two leads and swap them spaces on the inside of this foot switch, and I'll have that problem solved. But at any rate, so what I need to do now is turn this guy on, and we should start seeing the signal show up there because I'm just connected before after the resistor before it hits the first preamp tube. I'll wait till that comes up, and then once it, I turned the signal down. Come on, warm up. Give me some signal. Okay, there it goes, and that's way too loud. Let's turn it down to, we're at about 50 millivolts. Oops, wrong one. All right, so we can see the inputs coming in now. Let's power on. And we're going to try and trace the signal and see if we can figure out what is getting lost in translation. So there's that annoying buzz coming in. All right. Yeah, no problem, Matt. All right, so we know we're getting signal in through the first loop completely. And that is outputting, through here, for example. So we can see the blue line is showing up now. In fact, I could possibly raise and lower these two. Let me make, just so we can kind of see both of them. Oops, too far. So we'll put yellow kind of there, blue, we'll put it a little lower, and then that way we can kind of see them comparatively. So this is the output first stage, right? We're getting that comes through. Then it goes back in. Let's look at the schematic, and that way I can look and see for sure which part I'm trying to grab. Where's it? Right there? No. Yeah. All right. So, so the first and the second one's output is 0.5 that comes in, which would be, is that this guy? I'm trying to think. It's this one, I think, right here, right? Isn't that it? And that has signal output coming out of the second half. Yeah, that makes sense. See, it's lower on the first preamp stage, and it's much higher on the second preamp stage. I just heard a click that I didn't like. Like, what the... That was weird. It almost sounded like a relay switched, and the noise in the transformer stopped, which doesn't make me feel very warm and fuzzy. Let me be obnoxious and plug back into a speaker. Turn my volumes down. And then back up just a teeny bit and turn it on, see if I get output. No, I'm not. What just popped? Did I blow a fuse? Oh, I did. I blew a fuse, it looks like. Because my that's not coming on. It is definitely blown. So, why was I drawing high current there? Alright, this is where a moment comes where I've got some, I believe it's supposed to be 3 amp. I've got some laying around here somewhere. I've got, having to replace it with fuses repeatedly. I've got some actual fuse circuit breakers. Let me just grab one. I'll put a 3 amp in there. And that way if we pop, while we're figuring this out, we don't kill it. See if I can find it. Where did I put those? Well, that's the question. I don't know where, I don't remember where I put them. I may have to just deal with, I may just have to use the, I know I had some, but I could hardwire. Okay, so my concern is, and now I want to kind of put also the ammeter back on it so I can look. I think I buried that under here. Something, maybe just pushing too hard of a sine wave through it. I doubt it, but something caused it to pop the fuse. So let me put my ammeter on. And I get, is it a 3 amp fuse? It is 3 amp. What does the Dumble call for? I wonder if it calls a different sized fuse. Maybe I'm just, it's normal, but let's look. Maybe somebody knows. I do have some leads, so I might try that, but I just blew a fuse. I don't know why. So I want to make sure I understand why. It does say 3 amps, so that's what I had in it. So let's get a 3 amp slow blow in there. I recently did a major shop renovation and pulled a lot of things out to make them work a little easier or whatnot, but I don't know where I put all of my stuff. I haven't had a chance to always go hunting. I actually have some that would have made this a little easier, but alright, let me just read that says 3 amps on it, and I'm not putting the wrong kind in. 3 amp. Okay, cool. Ooh. Plug. I got a little bit of a shock there on the chassis, which I don't like. Do I have something grounding accidentally on the... It was like, kind of felt like a 120 volt type shock, but... All right, plug it back in. It's saying it's only running at 60 something amps, milliamps, or 600 milliamps, so that's okay. Okay, I'm being signed. Now I'm getting to 1.2, 1.3. And I have output, okay. Master volume at max. Okay. Could my dummy load be causing some kind of a weird issue? I don't think it should. I will double check. Let's just measure my resistance on the dummy, or on this guy again. Yeah, it's pretty steady, 4 point something ohms. Although when I move the cable, it seems to be changing a little bit. Maybe that's not. Maybe there's a sign there's a little bit of a short in this speaker jack. I hope not. Yeah, something is going wonky there. That makes me a bit nervous. I might have to test my cable. Maybe my speaker cable has gone bad. At any rate, I don't want to use the dummy load anymore, so we'll just put the sine wave back in and use the speaker out for now. And I will try and mess around with that a little bit later. All right, so turn it back on again. All right. We'll keep the master volume down a little bit. So, if I was to turn the master volume up, you'll see that increasing. Which is annoying. And I can turn the input volume down a bit if I want to as well. Alright, so we're getting good signal through. But I'm not getting any signal in the OD. And when I switch it, let's see here. It doesn't leave there, that's fine. Let's go down to here. Just try to make it a little bit bigger. It's only coming out about 2 volts instead, but it's still coming out. Alright, so sorry for the obnoxious noise. So if the lead comes from there and connects in, let me scroll this up a little bit. Turn the master volume down pretty low here. And we're only running at 1.4, so that should be okay too. The OD switching relay, I gotta move this up here, sorry. So I basically should get I'm just trying to think that through. No signal there. No signal there. No signal there. Oh, I have signal there. And that is actually where it comes in. And if I switch it off, it's not leaving, but it's not coming out this middle side like it should. But it's coming out the bottom side, huh? So if we look here at the switch, the top end is the input. Let's go back to here. The top end is the, let's see, what am I connecting? So I am jumpering into this right here, which is straight out of that guy, which is right, and I get it. But when it's engaged, I'm seeing signal here right now. Okay, so you can see I have signal there, which is at that point where my mouse is kind of right now. That is supposed to jump across the other side also, and then head over to ground, I guess, or over to the next phase, depending on how you look at it. Oh, so that should, actually, that does make sense. But then the output of it is the middle one, right? Isn't the middle one the output that's then is supposed to connect over the middle? So how would I, let's just try and hardwire it to, well, no, I was trying to do the signal tracing. I might try that afterwards, but, so if I touch this here, I have signal. And if I touch this here, I have no signal in the middle. If I touch on the other side, I have no signal. But if I engage the switch, I have signal on the output, which should go to where? Is it here? No, is it here? No, is it here? It is here. So it's coming into this, and it's supposed to come out over here. No, out over here. It's not coming out of this resistor. So this resistor dialed wide to ground. Is that what's going on maybe? Where's this? There we go. Hey, look at that. Okay, now I'm getting output. That looks good. So the output now is coming out of, let me adjust this guy. I just had this resistor set wrong. So the output is coming in and going towards this first input of the drive, which would be here. It's still there. I also, oh wait, could just be junk. Oh yeah, I'm getting it on the input. So the output of that side should be over here. And I'm getting output. But I'm not getting output from the, oh, you know what though? So I'm getting output here. And it's big output. That's good. Let's go back and make it smaller. Okay, so I'm huge output, and it still looks really clean coming out of the first stage of the drive. So the first stage of the drive is sending good signal in. The next stage would be, how does that jumper out? I'm trying to look, actually. Let me zoom this down a little bit more. So the first stage's output comes up to this 0.01. Where is that? Hold on. Should be here. I'm getting that output. And then that sends it over to these guys, and that should come back from here. Let's look. Do I have it here? I do have it here. Okay, so I'm getting output coming over to the next phase. And I get it there. Getting it there. So it's going into the next phase of the grid. So the output of that grid should now come out here. And it's not. Check voltages then. It could be that for some reason I'm not conducting on that tube. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, by the way, I wanted to check now that I'm thinking about it. Let me get voltage. What is my voltage at the top of my... I've got 8.4 volts at the top of the FET. That means I'm getting voltage there. Okay, so let me think. And my current, by the way, is still at only about 140 milliamps. So the voltage at the anode is 291, but the voltage drop across it is 288. I'm actually getting noise there too. $170. So it looks like maybe half of that cathode, or the other half of the tube, isn't conducting very well. Because I have 287 on the other side of this resistor. So it's dropping very little through the tube. Whereas on this one, same side, we got 290 on the one side of that resistor, or this side, down to 170. That is more appropriate normally, as I understand it. So the Mike Daddy, welcome back. So I figured out the switching. We actually had it sorted yesterday, but the other thing that that Mark was explaining to me I needed to finish, which was I did that kind of without being on because it's just boring. But I resoldered a jumper between these two, and it seems to be working. Everything's fine now. But for some reason, when we engage and I actually did this backwards. So the preamp boost is here and it's working, but the output over here is the overdrive, and the overdrive. The signal, when I have it switched on, is going through the overdrive, and I can trace it, and I'm tracing it right now with the oscilloscope, but it doesn't seem to be coming out, and I'm not sure why. So we're going to quickly, I'm just trying to test a few things around it. The cathode resistor voltage here is nothing, but on the other side, here, I'll bet you it's the one that happens to be, is, yeah, 1.8. So I am not conducting through the other half of the tube for some reason, and I don't know why. So either the funny thing is there's a little bit of noise when I touch right there, because that allows it to kind of go on to the next stage, I'm guessing. So it does look like, if I'm understanding it right, we're going to go back and trace this again. If I put this here, this is this is in the middle of the drive channel. Look. So the drive channel switching is working, but the problem is it's not coming out of the second half. And I'm not sure why. Because it should be, basically, following this output, we know we have signal coming in here, and we know we have signal coming out here because I'm measuring that on the other side of this capacitor here, and I'm getting signal here. That then is taken and fed, the output from that guy. It's taken through this guy and fed over, and I can see that also and read that over here. I think it's this one, if I remember right. So you can see it there. It comes in on this side, and it comes out on this side. That's kind of like acting like a volume, kind of. And I can adjust the level of that and see it go up and down. So that's working. So then the next step is it comes back in. The output of that guy is coming back in, and I can trace it, and I can see it's also right here, coming into that grid. But something is wrong on that second half of that grid because I'm not conducting. So what I'm going to do is shut down, and I'm going to do some continuity tests to see if I can make sure that it's working or not. What is my OD? Well, I did figure that out a minute ago, actually, Mark. My OD trimmer was set so that it was shunting everything to ground. So I've dialed it back up if I went to max, but I also then started seeing signal coming through. So the switch is working, and the OD is working. It's hitting the first half triode just fine, and when it gets the second half of the triode, I've got signal loss. So my suspicion might be that I've got a connection that's not connecting to ground well. So all right, so what I need to do now, I'm going to switch to my probes because I want to probe, although I should just double check voltages before I can do anything else. I've got it turned off. Oh, put it on voltage mode. And my high voltage is at about 2 volts. So we're good. Okay, so go back to continuity mode. What I know is something is wrong on the second stage of this guy. So we're going to quickly test continuity. That's good. And then the same thing. Let's test continuity from this ground to here. Or is it to this one? That was that one. Okay, so my other ground is this one here. And we have continuity there. So for what reason is my tube not drawing current down through on the drive thing? Is it a bad tube? We can try that. Let's try, just for giggles, I've got another 12AX7 somewhere around here. I think it's in my boxes. So we'll try a different 12AX7 in that spot and see if that solves the problem. Tube. Let's try a different tube and see if it's just the tube. There's something wrong with it and it's not conducting, which would be a bummer because that was an old 5751 that I got given to me by a worker, and they work very similar to like a 12AT7, I think, but it's a very high quality new old stock tube, and I was hoping to let's just put a 12AX7 in there instead and see if that's the problem. All right, so where did I put my probe? There it is. All right. So we'll double check. We do have signal there. We do not have signal there. Double click here. We've got signal at the input, at the grid. We have signal. So why is this tube not conducting? Actually, let me try a different tactic. Let me carefully touch just the top of this guy. Yeah, it's still going to the actual pin. Just not coming through to this side. I wonder if it's the capacitor itself. What's the voltage there? Let me double check the voltage. If it's not too high, my probe about 10 times should be able to handle up to 600 volts. I just don't want to probe that area unless I'm safe. There we go. So basically if I touch here, and see that's the thing, is I'm getting output if I touch this guy. So that means the OD would work if I can figure out why I'm not getting signal. But the voltage there is 280. So I should be, so let's see if for whatever reason I'm getting, or did I just set that probe? There it is. Let's see what I'm getting on the other side of this capacitor. Maybe it's the capacitor that's bad. Nothing. So I'm not getting output at all. There's just no voltage coming across the tube. Yeah, it's not RCA though. It was a, what is it? Where did I just put that guy? It is a tongue sole. So this is a tongue sole 5751 that I got from somebody. I've just wiped the paint off on accident, but I put it in the Tweedledee Deluxe. It sounded really good too. Do I see heaters? Oh, that's a good thing to check. Let's try that. Let's just make sure if I'm getting AC 6.3 volts on that tube. But the only thing that I can think of that makes no sense is that the tube itself, period, wouldn't work and the tube working on the other half of the triode. But if we're getting maybe weird spotty performance, that would be a good thing to check. And I have full 6.3 volts, yes. Arg. I've got a little 25 picofarad capacitor across it. Could that have gone bad? I mean, it's brand new. Could that be the problem though? I got 290 volts there, but I've got nothing, so it's not conducting. Maybe I need to just try and flow all of the joints. Let's go ahead and try that. Check my voltages, sure they're coming down. In fact, one of the other things that I will remind you of, that I should also always remember, is you do not want to solder with power connected. Because the soldering iron becomes a nice circuit to blow your face off. Alright, let me reflow these joints just quickly and see if adding a little heat will help. But this is kind of a shotgun approach. That isn't going to guarantee anything. Alright. So now what I think I'll try, because I want to also check resistance to ground through from this. That's 1.5K, that's exactly it. So that means the grid connection from the cathode to ground is giving me exactly 1.5K, and that's perfect. Yeah, I think component failure is unlikely too because they're all brand new components and they all look just fine and they don't seem smoked. But for some reason that half of the tube, two different tubes, is not conducting. Oh, I didn't reflow the grid input. It could be like a soldered connection or something, and it's looking fine and testing okay at the pin, but it's not actually getting into the tube. So I'll try that as well. And there's no connection that I can see between anything in here. Like I can't see the that grid input touching the earth or anything like that. But I guess we could test for continuity to ground as well. Let's test that for continuity. Nope, no continuity there. No continuity there. And no continuity there. This is super weird. I mean, I've reflowed stuff. Let's just try and power it back on again. See if that means anything. Nothing. Still. So what else can people think of that would make this, the input of my grid of this tube, have signal coming into it? And I've swapped tubes, but I'm getting no conductivity through the tube itself. That to me sounds like either a pin connection or the socket itself is something wrong with it, or it would be the tube, but we tried 2 different tubes, another brand new tube, and it's not having any problems. It's still having the same problem. You know, DC shouldn't pass through the cap. I was just trying to... Oh, you want me to see if there's DC voltage here? There's none, because I'm not getting anything at all on the other side of it. I want to detect the DC voltage here. I'm sorry, it's the DC voltage here is... No, I'm on resistance. The DC voltage across the top of this guy is only 289, which means it's not dropping over the tube. And then the cathode, if I connect to this cathode, I've got a DC voltage of 1.6 volts, which is fairly common for the cathode of a 12AX7. But this side, I've got 0.0 volts, which means there's no conducting happening in the tube itself. But I don't understand why. But I have a good reference. I've got, if I touch the cathode and measure resistance, it's 1.5K to ground, which means that that cathode resistor is there and can conduct to ground. It's just for some reason it's not conducting all. So the the cathode voltage is, again, like I said, the cathode voltage is 0. Plate voltage is like 2, so if I read it above the anode resistor, it is 293, and I measure at the bottom of the anode resistor, it's like 290, so it's going down like 3 volts. In fact, I can kind of put this up so people can maybe see that a little bit better. Let me know if you can see that. Let me look. So you can, it's kind of at the bottom of the screen there, but I think you can see it. So if I get this guy and I touch right here, we get 293. This is the good half of the anode. If I connect to this side, I get 182. So there's a voltage drop happening across the resistor and through the tube. But this side is only going down 3 volts, which means there's basically no, let's see, 290, 289. And then on this side, obviously you wouldn't get a resistor, but I could get signal because it's jumping through the capacitor. But the same thing with the anode resistor. The anode resistor of the good tube is here. And that gives me 1.6 volts. So it's conducting that half of the triode. But I go to the other one, and I get nothing. I just can't think of why else that sucker is not conducting. I mean, I could kind of chopstick a little bit. Yeah, I almost wonder, the only thing that's kind of in mind is that maybe somehow or another that socket has gone bad. Half of the socket, it was working, well, I shouldn't say that. I was using it in the old amp, but I'm trying to think if the old amp even used that half of the triode or not. I don't remember. I'd have to look at that, but... So at any rate... Stumped. It looks like right now, everything is working as expected, except that. And I can't figure out why I'm not getting... You can hear the boost there, by the way. Listen to that. And these relays are super quiet. Maybe it's just the slapping of the foot switches that's making that. I don't know. Let me think if there's anything else in that signal path that could do this. So if I move this up, the output, I'm looking at basically, I can measure the input on this grid, on this pin, and it's working just fine. The cathode is connected just fine. So you think I should maybe check the, like the 220K. So are you talking about possibly one of these two 100K resistors? I could check them and see if they're, but if that was lower resistance rating, it would just let the tube conduct more, not less. Right now it's blocked, but it's possible that it's gone bad. I guess I could double check that. Let me shut it off. Check the resistance of that guy. get this down to 7 volts. Stumped. All right, so let's check. I know the 1.5K resistor is good because I just got a really good reading off it. So let's go ahead and pull this guy. I'm on volts. I'm like, why is it 0? Duh. 99K. It's perfect. So both of those are 99K. Could it be... Could it be that this cap maybe is bad? I guess... No, but because I should... That cap isn't part of the... It's part of the signal chain, but not part of the operation of the tube. Because the tube itself just conducts between here and here. And we're just peeling off some of it. So this line is what's coming, the output from the anode, and feeding in the high voltage. And there's high voltage coming in. But we are not... You turn it back on and double check that I'm getting high voltage at the pin, but I'm pretty sure I am at the pin as well. I think I checked that. Put it back to voltage. See, that's the other thing that's odd to me is this, that clicking noise to me. Hear that? That means that the signal, if I touch it, signal is at the anode is passing down the chain. So the signal chain is perfect up until this triode. It enters the triode just fine. The exit of the triode makes noise, which means it's ready to conduct. It's conducting a little bit of my touch as a signal through this capacitor on. So my problem between here and the tube itself. But we're getting 290 volts there. And let's do DC volts to see what we're getting at the grid. About 9 volts DC or AC at the grid input. What in the holy crap is going on? Oh. Interesting. I see a blob of solder that looks like it's almost touching. Let me put this to continuity mode. Let me turn this off. Ah. The signal is shunting to ground because of that blob of solder. I just noticed it. It's barely touching, but I think it's enough. It was when I was trying to flow that, I let some of it slither down to the bottom, so we're going to remove that. Let me just make sure my voltage is dropped. Down. Yeah, okay. I think I just found it. Oh, I told you guys just a minute ago, you got to make sure you unplug before you do anything. Let me get my solder sucker, actually. Where is it? I'll suck all that crap out. Oop, get all that crap out of there. I think that just broke it loose, or it did break it loose. It's funny because I've never seen that before. I could see the actual signal still there when I measured on it, but it still was going to ground. So let's do a continuity test to ground. Because I could still see when I put the scope here on this other side of the resistor, it was there. But it must have been so weak because it was going to ground that I was just getting a very small amount of it or something. Put it on continuity mode now. Nothing. That might be it. I was just shunting the signal to the ground on accident there. Let me get this. Oh, I unplugged from the wall. I'm hearing output. I think I am anyway. Let's check voltage at the cathode. Nope, still not there. Dang it. That was a pipe dream. It didn't turn out to help at all. because nothing. I'm stumped. The fancy bench, what, this thing? I don't have plans for it. I had a bunch of scrap wood and cut it all out and made it myself in a matter of, I don't know, like a half of the afternoon one time. So so I'm going back and looking at some of the comments that have come up. The heater wiring, if it not working, the way those heaters work is it either works or it either should work. Oh wait, no, you're right. Actually, it still would conduct across half of it, but not the other half. So that's possible. That is very possible. So let me think about that. I gotta look and see if pins 4 and 5 have continuity, don't I? So let me make sure my voltage is down. 4.5 volts, that's safe enough. All right, so what I want to do is touch here. Put it on continuity mode. Yeah, they look pretty consistent to me. I don't see any way that that's not connecting through. The solder blob was just over here at the connection of this line into the thing, and it may not have been doing more than just mildly bleeding it. So I'm just trying to think. So basically I can tell you I know what is happening. I do not know why. I have the perfect voltage coming in right here at the anode. I maybe I can zoom in to the area we're talking about a little bit and adjust so you guys can kind of see a little better. Quickly, sorry, let me just adjust this a little bit. Now, of course, I went too far down, but that's all right. I don't know if this is going to help a lot, but it's down in here. Adjust the focus. All right, so right here, let me get my chopstick. Even though I have power off, I'm still going to use chopstick. Right here is my anode power in. We saw the voltage of that was perfect. That splits through 2 of these anode resistors. On this side, the anode voltage, this side is good, which is the input side, and the output is coming out of here. This side, the voltages are almost identical across this resistor, which means nothing's dropping through the tube. And this side is the anode over here. It's kind of being blocked, but it's behind this guy. I have no voltage here. It should be 1.2 volts or so DC and nothing. It's 0. So that means I've tested continuity. I have grid signal coming in at the pin 3 right here. Oh wait. I think I might have just figured it out. I have tube wired backwards. Anode and cathode are reversed. Pin 8 is the cathode. Yes. Ta-da! I just figured it out. Dun dun. All right, we will plug. I accidentally swapped the anode and cathode. Now, my fear, I don't think that should cause a problem, but I don't know. All right. can't see. Give me a second. Yeah, thanks, Mark. I know. I was trying to think it through, but that part didn't click in my head until just now. So you were on to something, obviously. Okay. Let me flow a little solder back in those guys now. Make sure they've got a good connection. I'm going to snip a little bit of a lead there. Where's my snips? There. And that's a mistake I've made before, and it's very easy to make because you're basically, it's pins 1 and 3 can get swapped. DC conditions should have showed this. Well, yeah, the DC conditions told me, but I didn't get to looking at that until I traced the signal, found it was on that half of the triode in the first place. But you're right, it should have gone, one of the first things that you should do, and I didn't do in this case, is measure all of your voltages everywhere and make sure they look good. And the DC conditions would have shown me that that was not conducting, something was wrong. Let's fire her back up now. Let's see what we get. Oh, I'm unplugged. And I have output. Look at that. Let's turn the volume down. Master volume down. We're going to put the guitar in. Set this back down. All right. Yay! She's working. All right, so let's go back off of the drive, and we're going to go preamp boost again. Right. I can hear a subtle change in all those. Probably need to adjust. Oh, look, I'm hearing a little squeal now. I might have the drive set too high. And that might be part of adjusting that input pot a little bit down until we get a cleaner sound. I'm getting a bit of hum too, but I'm also, oh look, we're hitting a little bit of like oscillations, I think, too. So I'm getting a decent amount of ugly sound. But that might be bad noise in this room. That might be a lot of things, but let's see. I kind of want to see what this looks like. Well, it's working. So what I need to do is a couple things I'm going to probably want to do, and I'm not going to do it today because we have a working amp. I'm going to zoom back out a bit here. It is working. Everything is working. I'm pretty stoked. About 100K to ground. Oh, okay. So yeah. So Matt's saying, and that makes sense. That I think I read that too. That this resistor was set roughly at about 100K to ground, so I could set that to that and see what it sounds like. My phase inverters, I think the phase inverter balance is important on this guy too to help stop things like oscillation and noise. So I'll possibly need to do that as well. I'll probably do those as a separate video. I can kind of sit down and do it, play with it, and set it there. Hey, not me. You made it right as I finished. It works. I'm done. Sorry. Well, you guys made it right as I finished. I will recap what I had to troubleshoot and fix, but it is now all working. I think there's still some tuning I'm gonna need to do, but I'll make a separate videos about that. But so we first found the relays were wrong. I had the voltages switched on them, and the DC relays they have a polarity. You have to put the positive on the right side, I didn't hit on the right side. The funny thing was this was a bit of a red herring because I had them backwards, but I also had the diodes wrong. Or sorry, I had the diodes right for that DC direction it should be going. And so we thought that was a problem. So lifting those made me think, oh, I'm good to go. But then when I switched things, when I realized that didn't solve the problem and I switched it around, all of a sudden everything started working on the relays. There was a problem with the pre-boost where it wasn't grounding correctly, so when I hit the switch it was doing nothing. But yeah, you can watch the room. But then I went through and adjusted that and it was good to go as well. So the final step was I finally noticed that I had the two things to adjust for overdrive. One, the overdrive potentiometer was dialed all the way down to maximum, so everything was going to ground. So I turned it up. Yeah, I'll be happy to help you when we turn to the 1484. That'd be really cool. Maybe we can try and set it up at some point. If some of you guys don't want to do that, we can try and have you could do something similar to a where you're doing if you don't know how to do live streams yourself, you can do a Google Hangouts with me or something. We'll be able to see you guys. You'll show me with a camera what you're working on or whatever, and we can talk through some of those too. That would be kind of fun. Yeah. So I need to adjust that because that was sending all the signal to the ground. But then we realized that I wasn't getting anything out, and that took me a while to kind of dawn on it. People were kind of kept hinting that I needed to check the wiring. And I realized I had the anode and cathode wires switched on the second half of that triode. Switched those out and it worked. It's getting a little bit of almost what sounds like oscillations or something, but that also might be because I'm dialing that drive too hard. And so I'm going to want to adjust that potentiometer right. It's like a 300K potentiometer. I need to dial it down to around 100K to ground so that there's a bit better balance, and that might help it, but I'll play with that a little more. I'm also on some crappy speakers in a very noisy environment with a lot of noise. When I plug these into the cabinets and take them upstairs, they get way quieter. So the phase inverter balance, I'm going to do a separate video on that alone. I think I did do one on the Tweedledee Deluxe. And yeah, Amstream Club would be cool. So the general idea, since we're live, fuck it, we'll do it live. Oh, sorry, I cursed. So we're going to connect in. I want to show you guys how you balance a phase inverter. Let's go ahead and do that. So I need to take the guitar output back out, plug back in this guy. And so what you want is you want a sine wave input. So we connect our two sides of our thing to either side of the output of the phase inverter before it goes off. So one goes here, and the other one, where's that guy? Here. Where's my tip for it? That, I think, is a very valuable. I do have a separate video. Please go watch it if you want to. I kind of talk about it, but we can kind of talk about it here as well. If I can find the tip of my... There it is. It fell back behind. So we connect these either half of the phase. And then, so you don't need to watch this much. I'm going to focus you in instead on the... So we're bringing it back up. And this will be kind of obnoxious, but what I'll do is I'll turn the master volume down. Because the master volume, well, it might not be what I want. So we're going to go back to channel 1. That's pretty hot, so turn it down. Oh wait, that's the phase inverter output. Sorry, I need to get... Alright, so now we see that. We make sure I'm also on the same scale. These are both... Alright, there we go. That's better. 10 times probe. We set ourselves to the 2 volt scale here. So we're at 2 volts. All right, you see they're pretty close. Oh, sorry. Let me actually point at this guy. So we will focus more on this, and you'll see. Now, oh, I gotta adjust it. Hold on, this is focus. All right, so you can see right now I've got the phase inverter, the 2 halves of the phase inverter, but they're out of phase, which is what they're supposed to do. And yeah, I know my lead dress is probably not the best either. There's a lot of there. For example, I also know my output are sloppy because I didn't know if I'd be out of phase. I ended up lucky I'm not. So I just need to kind of go back and run them more straight and clean those up. But yes, thank you. I will definitely do that, Mark. So effectively, we've got the phase showing them, but you can see they're inverted. That's what it's supposed to do. But I can choose one or the other and hit this invert on and off on my scope. And now they line up. And so what you want to do is bring them, sorry, you bring them on top of each other, basically. And you want to raise the input volume until it clips just a teeny bit. Oh wow, I gotta keep going here. So I'm just gonna keep adjusting them until I can keep them on scale. It's gonna get loud. There we go. So we now just back it off a teeny bit till we're no longer clipping. Then we adjust them on top of each other. And you'll see they don't complete, this is actually pretty well balanced, but they're not exact. So then I come in here, oh, that's the wrong one. There's a phase inverter trimmer pot. I'm into that guy. And I effectively rotate it one way or the other. Now you can see a little bit of that yellow peeking out. I'm balancing it down to where the yellow disappears behind the blue completely. That is a balanced phase inverter. Does that make sense? Yeah, make a special note of that invert. Now, I've also heard theories that Dumble didn't balance them perfectly, but he intentionally left them offset just a teeny bit. I'm going to go for directly, completely balanced. Now, if we were to engage the overdrive, look at how it changes that signal. And the preamp boost pushes us into distortion. Actually, an interesting thing is that the distortion... Oh no, the distortion's on the right side of it. I was going to say, you can see the distortion is up here and down here in the blue, opposite each other, because the signals are the opposite side of that signal wave, so... And I've got it inverted. If I turn invert back off again, you'll see there now, basically, that's how push-pull works. Each half, we're compressing only on one half of the waveform heavily and the other one only mildly, but I'll turn the volume down now because that's just obnoxious. But that is the gist of balancing a phase inverter. You want to get the tube amp. Yeah, absolutely correct. Yeah, Mark. So that's another thing that will just mean that you have very clean, even signal hitting both halves of your power stage, but it doesn't guarantee that you'll have high quality on all 4 tubes or the output transformer, etc. So that's why you adjust the bias as well. So that's another thing that I need to do with this, guys, adjust the bias. I need to finish by getting this half power switch installed in the back. There's a few little things that dress it up and get it right, but the next major video probably for this is going to be, I'll show you adjusting the overdrive the way I want it. which might take me about this rest of this week because I got a lot on my to-do list this weekend that's not amp stuff. So, but hey guys, I'm pretty excited. I've got my Dumble working. I do agree with Mark that I need to adjust the lead dress a little bit. That might help with some of that oscillation I was getting. But all in all, I've got a working Dumble Overdrive 124, and hopefully after I dial in some of these other areas, it will be very good. Now, it does sound on the clean channel is very clean. I don't see any problems, but when I push the drive, it's starting to have some oscillations and problems, which is typical of any heavy driven amp. If you don't have lead dress perfect, you don't have everything else tied in right. So, yeah, so mine is the Rigol DS1054. I think the disadvantage of the Rigol 1102 was that it was the oh no, that's a little bit nicer one, isn't it? I'm trying to think, Mike Addy, because there was an old 1020 something or other that only had 2 inputs. I have the DS1054 and it has 4 inputs, and it's only about, I think it was like $299 or $399. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I absolutely love it. I've used it a ton. It's outstanding. But there are a decent amount of good scopes out there that are also a good price as well. So. So I do have in the comments section, I have like the stuff like this that I have. If you want to buy them through Amazon through affiliate links, it does help me out, but that's your call. But also I have my email address down there. It's pdavis@frenchyfilms.com, and then there's also a PayPal link if you want to directly. But if you guys want to email me, that idea of having somebody work on an amp with me live, I think it would be cool. If you want to set up a simple like webcam at home, pointing at what you're looking at or something, if you can get that far, even if you don't know how to do the live stream on YouTube, all that, we could actually have you stream to me. We'll show it off to everybody together, and we'll kind of troubleshoot live. You'll be able to talk, and people should hear you through the Google Hangouts live and whatnot, and we'll go from there. So you and I could plan it ahead of time and just do a practice session, but that would be fun. So cool. All right, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'm pretty excited. I finally got this guy built. Woohoo! And so now it's just a little bit of like smaller details, but I think we're in good shape. So thank you very much for all the help, especially so you guys like Matt Johnson, the Mike Daddy, and Mark Spruill that helped out with some great input and troubleshooting and sorting out these problems. And, you know, I look forward to hopefully getting more and more people involved in these videos so that we can kind of enjoy learning and growing the amp knowledge. It seems to be kind of fading. I think I'm one of the a lot of the guys that know it really well seem to be the generation just a little older than me. I'm in my late 40s, and I see a few people in the 30s, like on Reddit and whatnot, starting to get into it. So that is something that I want. You know, I've seen some of the other videos, like Uncle Doug's got some pretty cool stuff, but his focus very much on niche. He loves the really old, you know, Valco and whatnot. So it's just focusing kind of in his area. He does some good generic videos also on how the basics of tube stuff works. But yeah, please thumbs up for me. And ultimately, I think that this channel can be more focused on a little bit more complicated things that will make building these things work better. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining. Thank you very much for your feedback. And please do, yeah, like I said, like it was said, like, subscribe, thumbs up, hit the little alert bell. You'll get notifications of my videos as they come out. And I'm very, very into getting feedback. I've gotten a lot of feedback already. I've created some videos just because people said, hey, how do you do this? So please, guys, do keep that coming. Thank you very much, and have a good rest of your weekend. We'll zoom out here. Hold on. There's the shop. Oh, look, there was one of my monitors where I look at. This is what you're seeing also, by the way, is that monitor right there. So thank you guys very much. Have a good one.